You are listening to the SDSU Football Podcast, presented by the East Village Times, with your hosts Andre Hagverdian and Paul Garrison. Welcome, listeners, to another episode of the SDSU Football Podcast. I am your host, Andre Hagverdian, and will be joined shortly by my co-host, Paul Garrison. Today's episode is an interview with Aztec for Life, Jesse Matthews, wide receiver, who is currently preparing for the NFL draft in April. As you will hear from our interview with him, he's currently in Florida going through NFL combine training, working hard, preparing for an upcoming pro day at San Diego State in the middle of March, and then obviously team workouts, interviews, that's so forth until the draft towards the end of April, I believe. It was a great chance to catch up with Jesse as his Aztec career came to an end. But hopefully his professional NFL career is just beginning. Hope you guys enjoy it, and let's get right to it. We want to welcome Jesse Matthews to the SDSU Football Podcast. How are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, doing great. Well, thank you for taking the time. I know this is a busy time for you. Before we get into kind of what you're doing now and getting prepped for the NFL draft, we want to kind of go backwards and, how you ended up at San Diego State. You're a local San Diegan, played at Christian High. As a senior, you're all-league, all-county player. We know you ended up at San Diego State as a walk-on, but how was your recruiting going? Did you have offers, maybe FCS Division II that you were considering?
Yeah, I had almost no recruiting or no recruits coming to talk to me or scouts coming to talk to me. My junior year, I was more of a role player on my team. We had a pretty solid receiver that got most of the targets, and I wasn't really schemed into the offense, so I kind of took that for what it was and try to maximize my position and what I could do for the team. And then my senior year, I had a pretty good season stats wise, and I was a leader, captain of the team, all that stuff, but still not a lot of attention from college scouts. I don't know if I didn't get promoted enough or advocated enough by my coaches or whatever the reason may be, but I had no D1 offers, obviously no D2 offers, and I had a couple of D3 coaches talk to me, and that was really the extent. I sent out my film to San Diego State, and just seeing if I kind of a shot in the dark and seeing what they would think about it, and just more like evaluation and see if I have a chance at playing at the next level. That was really my goal. So I sent my film over, and luckily they got back to me and said they would take me as a preferred walk-on, and that was all I needed was my foot in the door, and I kind of ran with it from there.
Nice. You redshirted your freshman year, but you're the offensive scout player of the year.
Yeah.
We've heard about how shining as a scout team player could kind of open up the eyes of some of the current coaches. How did you approach that year and to eventually become, the scout player of the year?
I came from a small school. Christian High School is a relatively small school. So just kind of catching up to the speed of the game, playing against bigger, faster, stronger guys, there was an adjustment period for sure. I remember the first few practices, I felt like, man, do I even belong out here? There was some times where I would struggle and kind of doubt myself. And there's definitely some mental adversity that I had to face and overcome. But I think having Coach Coop as my position coach and someone I could lean on, and him just reminded me that every time, it's not really a scout team, it's a developmental team, and you're going to develop down there, and it's for the younger guys. So just keeping that in mind, and also knowing that I'm playing against our number one defense, and I'm going practicing against Coach Long at the time. He's down there every day watching us and coaching against us. So it's a job interview every single day, and you have to come mentally prepared and ready to perform and showcase what you can do. So I took that very seriously, and I would go in after every practice and watch my scout tape and see what on areas I can improve on and kind of make corrections and just try to develop. Because I know I knew coming in I was going to come in and play right away. And I kind of accepted that, and I had that mindset that I'm going to take some time to develop because I was kind of a late bloomer, and I had some work to do. So just having that mindset and that attitude that I want to improve every day and just be the best player I can be. So that attitude and then just the support of the coaches around me really helped me thrive in that position.
I think what's amazing just hearing you describe this whole thing is, you know, you talk about development, but you played as a redshirt freshman. I mean, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like you weren't, you didn't have the mindset that you were going to come in and there's, I mean, tons of higher recruited guys, big time recruits, things like that, who expected to play as a redshirt freshman. But it was you who got that opportunity, who earned that opportunity. But just take us back. You mentioned Coach Long about, you know, when you got that scholarship and what that process was like. And, you know, was there any build up, lead up to it, or was it a surprise, etc.?
I honestly didn't expect to play that fast. It was a shock. It wasn't something I imagined. I thought, you know, when I first got there, I was thinking, you know, just make the team, man, and then see where that takes you. But I started to develop, and I had a coach that, you know, didn't see me as a walk-on. He saw me as another player in his room and someone that was developing and making plays, and, you know, started creeping my way up in the depth chart and going against the first team guys and making plays, and had a really good fall camp leading up to that next season. So just putting my head down and working each and every day and just trying to be the best version of myself really propelled me. And then obviously I had a pretty good redshirt freshman season. It was a starter for all 12 games or 13 games, and it was right before our bowl game. It was just another team meeting after BYU. So we had a week off before our bowl game because we didn't go to the conference championship. So we had a week off, and that following week we had a Monday afternoon meeting. It was just a normal meeting like any other one, and then they announced, you know, the players of the week of that BYU game, and I got noticed for player of the week also. So I still remember that. That was pretty cool. And then the meeting was about to wrap up, and then Coach Long called up Jawan Washington and all the seniors. He said, I think we have one more announcement we're going to make. And Jawan stood up there, and he was reading a letter from a letter and said, this letter is awarding an athletic scholarship for the 2020-2021 season or academic school year. And at the very end, it said, congratulations to Jesse Matthews. And, you know, all the guys jumped on me and they're going crazy. Water was being thrown. And I still just have those emotions, and it gets me a little choked up just thinking about it still, just feeling validated for all that work you've put in and being rewarded so quickly. I would have never imagined it, but, you know, I serve a very giving God, and he's blessed me with a lot of things, and, you know, and he's done things for me that are greater than I can imagine. So just being part of that experience and experience that so early in my career was something very special to me.
Did somebody grab that on video, that moment?
Yeah, that was the thing with Coach Long. He's more of an old school guy. So
right.
He said it's just kind of a us thing. He didn't really want to blast it out there, but
that's why I asked, because I remember him saying that because he got asked at a press conference and he's like, yeah, that's we don't publicize that. So I'm just curious.
Yeah, I know. I really wish someone did, but I mean, I have that memory in my head forever, and I still can put myself in my shoes when that experience happened. So
absolutely.
You mentioned your gracious God and the gifts that he's given you. Is one of them elite hands, or is that something that you developed? Because I mean, the balls that you're able to get to is just insane. And where does that come from? Is that innate, or is that something that you develop? A little bit of both?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think I've been blessed with just really good hand-eye coordination, and it's just a lot of repetition. Also, I don't have the biggest hands. You know, I know where the ball is going to be. I know how to track the ball in weird spots. And one of my favorite activities, I've told the story before, but when I was about 5 years old, probably from the ages of 5 to 10 years old, every Sunday, my favorite thing to do was watch NFL football. And then my real favorite thing to do was between commercial breaks or during the commercial breaks is have my dad throw me balls, you know, and I dive onto the couch and you make these tough catches. That's what I really look forward to. So just that repetition of catching the ball and trying to contort my body and make it as difficult as possible. And just having that joy, you know, that youthful joy of trying to challenge myself. And that's something that I really reflect a lot on. And I credit my hand-eye coordination and my ball tracking skills.
You know, you get a scholarship, you're looking forward to your, you know, next year. and then COVID hits. It's 2020 is a crazy year for everybody dealing with COVID, but then you also have to deal with going to Carson and playing home games up there with no fans.
Yeah.
The next year fans are allowed, but you're not getting big crowds traveling up to LA, but you guys still win a historic school record 12 wins. What does that say about that team that was able to overcome all of that and lead to 12 wins?
A year like we had this last year kind of puts in perspective, how special it is to win 12 games and how hard it is. It's not something you do every season, and it's not something that just any team can do. So I think it speaks to the leadership that we had. We had a lot of older guys on that team, a lot of cohesiveness, a lot of guys that just bought into what we preached. And we knew that, we weren't going to have the biggest crowds. We're not going to have that traditional college atmosphere, but it doesn't matter. There's, it's a 53 and a third yard field, probably 110 yard or 120 yards. So you line the ball up and, you play football, and that's what we came to do. So it speaks to the character of that team. And we also had great special teams play, great defensive play, and then some timely offense. And we got fortunate a few times, but it's tough to win 12 games, and I think it's something that you can reflect on now and realize how special it was.
In your 4 years, you caught a lot of passes from a lot of different quarterbacks. Was there one quarterback that you felt you had the best connection with that was a lot? Not that you probably had a great connection with everybody, but was there one that you felt like this guy, I have it really good with this guy?
I think the first one that comes to my mind is Ryan Agnew. He is a guy that obviously helped me develop. Gave me a lot of guidance. He was a senior when I was, that redshirt freshman. So, and he showed a lot of trust in me. He knew that if you put the ball in my area, I would go up and get in and make a play for him. And just having a quarterback that believes in you and, trusts you to get those balls. He's not afraid to throw interception. He's not afraid to make a mistake. He's kind of a gunslinger, and I really loved Ryan and how he played football. And, sometimes it could be stressful for fans at times, but I just loved how he played the game and his character and just how good of a person he is. So he's one guy that really steps up and comes to the front of my mind. And another guy is Carson Baker, San Diego kid. We trained a lot coming out of high school and going into San Diego State together. So I feel like we had a pretty strong connection, and I wish we could have, stuck around a little longer, but, everything happens for a reason.
Statistically, bowl games were some of your biggest games. Frisco Bowl, 11 catches, 175 yards. New Mexico Bowl, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, do you have any reason why maybe in those bowl games were some of the times when you got to shine the brightest?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could give you a solid reason or answer, but I think it's just realizing it's your last game with that group of guys to add some extra motivation. You want to end your season out the right way. You want to end this campaign. You want to leave a good taste in the mouth of the fans or the team going into the off season. And this year in particular, the last game of my Aztec career, just having those extra motivating factors, and then also getting to play on national TV and a big stage. And I think in those moments and in those games is something that I really relish. And I look forward to when the stage is a little bit bigger. I've always kind of had the knack to kind of step up in those moments, and I kind of, relish those experiences because I know that they don't come too often. And it's something I grew up watching, these guys on national TV, on ESPN, on CBS, on, these big time television networks, and being in that position just really gets me motivated and fired up. So I think that could have something to do with it too.
Great answer. So, I mean, I guess in addition to those bowl games, scholarship offers, I mean, a lot of different things you could point to, but do you have a favorite memory of your time as an Aztec?
Yeah, it's hard to narrow down one, but I think one of my favorite games we've had as a team was that Boise State game in 2021. We were down, I think 14-3 or
16-3.
Yeah, 16-3. Yeah, we were down.
I think it was 16.
I think you're right. Yeah. And then they missed a field goal, and that kind of launched us back into the game and gave us some momentum. So I think the resilience resiliency we showed in that game. That was also on a big stage. It was the day after Thanksgiving, 9 a.m. kickoff. There's a lot of things we could have done to just lay down and kind of quit on the season. We could have given up, and we didn't. We fought back, and that was to get into the conference championship. And that's something we didn't do since I've been there. And I think that was a really remarkable game that spoke to the character of that team and the resiliency that we had. So obviously we couldn't get it done in the championship because of some COVID issues and whatever else. So that was unfortunate, but I think the road to get there and being able to perform in that game when it mattered the most was something really cool for that team and for me.
It's funny that the thing I always remember from that game, and it has nothing to do with the actual game, is, we were still doing Zoom press conferences at post game for that one. And so even though we were in the stadium in the press box, we would still log into Zoom there downstairs, right? And as it was starting, Keyshawn Banks was not one of the players that was supposed to talk, but he still ran into the room and he yelled into the mic, "We're going to the championship. I'm probably getting into trouble for this, but I don't care." And he yells at Brady Hook sitting right there, like just that I always remember that. It's hard to forget that one, but that shows how exciting of a moment that was for the whole team, for sure.
Yeah, that was a good memory.
Coach Hoke always gives those defensive linemen a little longer leash, man. I don't know.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. Those guys are like his sons. They always joke about that. So he loves those guys.
NIL is a big topic, obviously, college football. It makes it easier for players to hold events like the camp that you held last July. Yeah. What was having your own camp like, and are you planning on, having another one anytime soon?
Yeah, I mean, that whole experience was so rewarding and so fulfilling for me. I just remember the feeling I had in my heart, just after seeing those kids smile and being able to provide a space for these young kids to play football and interact with collegiate football players and just give them whatever knowledge that we had to share that space with them was something very special to me. And I definitely want to do it again. I have to figure out the logistics of it. And, I know there's rookie minicamp and the schedule. I have to kind of get those things down. But I think there was a time period before we head back, falling up to the preseason where I could host that camp again. So I definitely want to do it again and just get back to the community, get as many people there as possible. And, I charged last time, but I don't know if I want to charge this next time, just to get as many kids there as possible and just give back. That was something that's super rewarding for me. And I love, that was one of my favorite days of my life, honestly.
Other than the camp, you were active in other ways for NIL, merchandise deal, things like that. What was it like kind of marketing yourself, finding business partners and being part of the first group of athletes that got to do that?
Honestly, I didn't love, don't get me wrong, NIL is a great thing for collegiate athletes. And I'm glad that we get to monetize our name and image and likeness and things like that. But I'm not someone that really focused too much on it. I didn't reach out to that many companies or any companies. It's kind of like my parents would do that for me, and I just focused on playing football.
Smart.
Because that was the role I wanted to really, really focus on. And if you do well on the football field, then all those things will come. So me personally, just the way I am, I'm not huge on social media, and I'm not going to be someone I'm not or try to put on this act and try to sell myself. So there's nothing wrong with that. And there's definitely benefits to, marketing yourself and doing things like that. But just me personally, I felt like I wanted to focus more on football and leave the rest for my parents, I guess.
In 2019, you were the first Aztec freshman to be named an offensive or defensive player of the year for the team since Ryan Lindley. You got the opportunity in your brief time to be able to be coached by him and to be around him. And what do you think that the offense is going to be under him, and just what kind of style do you think he brings to the Aztecs?
Yeah, Coach Lindley, I love Coach Lindley. He's a great coach. And he was actually a GA when I first got to San Diego State, and he's a defensive GA. So he spent a lot of time with the offensive scout guys. And I remember a couple of practices, he came out and we're a little thin in our quarterback depth, so he played quarterback for a couple of practices and threw some balls, and I remember I have that fond memory. But I think the offense is in great hands with him. He's a very smart guy, a very knowledgeable and super personable. I feel like he's a coach that you can just go in his office and talk to him whenever you need to, and he's gonna be open to suggestions. And now with Moose coming back for playing quarterback as his full-time job now, I think that offense has a lot of potential and a lot of young linemen coming back and position guys coming back. It's exciting for the Aztecs, and I'm excited to see what they can do under Coach Lindley and the rest of that staff.
Two of those guys that expecting to have huge years, Mekhi Shaw, Breon Penny. What can you tell us about those two and them being able to replace, you and Tyrell in the role in the offense?
Yeah, I've said it before, but Mekhi Shaw reminds me a lot of myself. His demeanor and the way he plays football and his toughness, and he's really good at tracking the ball, quickness, and I think he's a great receiver. And it's remarkable thinking that he came in as a DB, and to see how quickly he's developed into a very, very solid receiver. So I'm excited for his future and see what he'll do. And I know he'll thrive in whatever role they put him in because he's a very smart kid. He's going to pick up that offense, and I know he's going to do well. And same goes for Breon. Breon was someone that took a little bit longer to develop, but he's just a naturally gifted kid, a joyful kid. He's always smiling and he's always happy and upbeat. And seeing his development over this last year was pretty remarkable. The way his routes have improved, his attention to detail, you could kind of just see in his eyes that he really wanted to be better. And, he'd get disappointed with himself if he made a mistake, if he dropped a ball. He really took it personally. And having that mental edge and that intensity about yourself is what's going to separate you and help you become a great receiver. So I think he's matured a tremendous amount since he's first up on campus. And, I love those guys, and I wish nothing but the best things for them. So I know they're going to be great in that system and whatever the coach asked them to do, because they're great kids and they're great football players as well.
After those two guys, there's a lot of talented guys on the wide receiver room, but guys who haven't seen the field, in a real game.
Yeah.
Is there a couple of guys you can name that, we should expect to see, make plays on the field come 2023?
Yeah, the first one that just pops up to my mind is Josh Nicholson. He's going to be special. The way he runs routes, the way he gets out of his breaks, it's something that's it's God-given. The way he stops on a dime. I'm super impressed with his game, and I think he just needed to mature, a little bit coming out of high school and kind of get the game down mentally. But, he's as physically gifted as you can be as a receiver. Just how quick he is, how fast he is. His routes are very crisp and super detailed. I know he's worked on, catching the ball and becoming a playmaker. So I'm really excited for what Josh can do. Super talented kid. And then obviously Darius De Los Reyes, someone that's been in the program, is a walk-on also. Someone who could also earn a scholarship, in my opinion. Could have had one by now, but he's a great special teams guy. He's a great slot receiver. He's quick, twitchy, will make plays. He's very tough. Those two guys really stick out to me. And then you have Philippe Wesley that's still there, who also developed a lot. He's in the same class as Josh. Those two guys have developed a tremendous amount. And there was a couple of practices last year where I was a little banged up, and they want to preserve me a little bit. And for the first time, I got to kind of sit back and watch these young guys work. And I was really impressed, and I was really encouraged by what I saw. And I was just thinking to myself, like, man, these guys are going to be good. If they keep developing and get it mentally, if they make that connection mentally, they're going to be special. So I think the Aztec fans have a lot to look forward to in that receiver room, and I just hope they can thrive in that system.
Coach Lindley has talked a lot about determining who their playmakers are, and he's mentioned the tight ends having an increased role, but definitely he mentioned Josh Nicholson by name as well a couple weeks ago in an interview. So he's definitely a guy on the radar for sure. One of the things off the football field, but a big deal for San Diego State is, conference realignment, right? The big buzz is moving to a Power 5. What are your thoughts on that, and about the potential move to the Pac-12 or a Big 12?
That's great for the program and for the whole school. I think we live in the best city in the world, or in the country at least. And I think we're a destination that's very attractive to recruits. The only thing we've been missing is kind of that Power 5 dynamic. And, that holds a lot of weight. That title holds a lot of weight to recruits. So I think once we I think it's going to happen, and whenever that does happen, I think it's going to be a huge shift for the program, and it's going to be something that changes, the trajectory of our program. So I'm really stoked for that possibility and to see where we go as a school and as an athletic department. So very exciting times for San Diego State and to be an Aztec fan right now.
Jesse, you talked a little bit earlier about Coach Cooper and just the encouragement that he came. And I think one of the and this is my opinion now, I don't think in this culture we end things very well. And it always has a sour taste when something ends. But of course, everything ends. Like it's just part of life. So rather than thinking of Coach Cooper's end as a negative, because it obviously caught everyone by surprise, but just as a way to honor him for the time that he had, for all the things that you've already mentioned a little bit, but just going into detail. I mean, what is he like as a person, as a coach, as a man, and just what are you going to be able to take from him as you go and carry on things into your life?
He's a special person, man. I don't say this lightly. I think he's one of the best people I've ever met in my life. He's such a special person, and he's done so much for me and for so many of these guys. And he's done a lot, man. He's a great guy, and I know whatever his next step is in his life, and wherever God's leading him, and I know he's going to do great things, and I know he's going to be a huge impact on these young kids and young men, and that's what he does, man. He changes young men, and he changes their lives just outside of football, and I really can't say enough good things about him. And obviously, it gets me a little emotional thinking about it. Man, he's special. He's special, and he's someone that's going to be in my life, forever. And I'm very fortunate to have someone like that in my life that is so supportive and sees so much in me, and really just poured his knowledge and his support into me. I'm not here without him, and that's just a fact. And that's I don't develop to be the man I am, the receiver I am. I don't get a shot at San Diego State without him. So I can't say enough good things about him, and I'm excited to see what this next chapter of his life takes him. I know wherever he's going to go or whatever he does, it's going to be something that's special, and I know whatever opportunity he gets, he's going to take advantage of it.
The podcast where we interviewed him was remarkable. Like, we were in awe after we got off the interview with him, because there's just so much that we learned, so much that he spoke about, what he's done. It was incredible for sure. Yeah,
he's a special person, man.
So after the bowl game this year, you announced you're going to enter NFL draft and go and pursue that, man. What have the last couple of months been like for you as you've been preparing for the draft?
It's been surreal. It's been a dream come true, honestly. I know the decision, I don't know if it shocked fans or if they weren't sure what I was going to do or not, but my plan was always to play this last year and declare for the draft. And I know I didn't have the year production-wise that I wanted or the team success, but I just felt in my heart that it was time for me to move on and explore, this next chapter of my life and go grow, So it's been amazing so far. I went to the Hula Bowl, played in that bowl game, had a really good experience, great week of practice, talked to a ton of NFL teams, and that was just a surreal experience in itself, just being face to face with these scouts and them telling me, I'm doing this well, or they're impressed with how I do certain things, and kind of realizing that dream that it's right at the front door, and I just have to go grab it. So this whole experience it's been a blessing, man, and the training process is tough, but it's rewarding as well. Seeing myself develop to get faster and stronger, learning these drills, that I'm gonna do one time in my life, and spending 8 weeks, just focusing on trying to get these drills down. And it can be challenging at times, but I've been in a great headspace, and I've just been trying to improve every single day. And I try to wake up every morning just grateful for where I'm at and where my feet are, and getting this opportunity to chase my dreams and something that I've been looking forward to for so long. It's right in front of me now, so I just feel so blessed. And I know a lot of kids like to be in my shoes, and I try to take this experience seriously as possible and be as focused as possible, because I know it only comes around once. I just try to be the best version of myself I can be every day. And, I'm almost back home, a couple weeks left in Florida here, training. So I'm trying to finish this thing out the right way and just, crush my pro day and then, take it from there.
Are you training with other draft prospects, wide receivers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, other draft prospects. I think there's 4 different groups. So there's linemen, defensive offensive linemen, and then there's tight ends and linebackers, and then there's 2 groups of DBs and receivers. So I work out in that group, and yeah, it's cool meeting all these guys from all over the place that go to these different schools and learning their backgrounds. And this is my first time being away from home, in my whole life. It's kind of a dramatic change, moving 2,500 miles away, living by myself. But I think it's something that's been great for me, and I've been forced to grow a little bit and get outside my comfort zone and, be a real adult. So it's been great so far, and just meeting these people and making connections has been awesome.
Well, it hailed today in San Diego, and it's supposed to rain for 4 days, so you're not going at the worst time. For sure.
Yeah, no,
Florida has its own issues too, otherwise, but it's probably better at this moment than.
Yeah, the forecast this week is 80 degrees and sunny every day, so it's been nice.
We've talked to several guys on this podcast, people you're familiar with, J.R. Tolver, Alex Johnson, your San Diego trainer. They both unequivocally said you're going to be playing on Sundays at the next level. You mentioned you talked to some teams during the Hula Bowl. What kind of prospect do they see you as? Is that something you had a discussion with them as you move towards the draft?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't say it, explicitly, but just being realistic with myself, they see me as a slot receiver, and they see me as a guy that's. A lot of teams said this. They said they see me as a guy that's just going to stick around and make a team. They see me as a guy that's going to have that kind of career and find a way to stay in the building, and that's a huge compliment. But I know I'm not a first-round pick. Obviously, I know I'm not an athletic freak. I know these limitations that I have about myself, but I know that I'm also a pretty good football player, and I can, make plays for a team, and I'm willing, and I'm willing to put myself in, whether it's receiver or whether it's on special teams, whatever I can do to make the team and help that team become better, I'm willing to do. And I know I can pick up the game very well and, learn information and transfer it onto the field. So I'm confident in those intangible abilities that, they're not always, measured, with the stopwatch or, those certain drills. I know I bring something that's special. So I'm confident in that. And, I look forward to any opportunity that I get.
You last year's team had 9 guys make NFL rosters, right? Are you talking to any of them, leaning on them about what they went through so they can kind of help you as you go through this? Yeah,
definitely. I talked to Daniel because he was my roommate and we've been close, and he's obviously excelled at the next level already, and that's been a huge inspiration. It's really cool to see, and I just ask his insight on certain things. I actually texted him yesterday about kind of the whole process leading up to pro day and what he did. But another guy that's been really great is Trent Thompson. He actually reached out to me first, said, whatever you need, just let me know, and I'll give you my advice, and I'll tell you, what I learned or what I wish I could have done differently. So I definitely have those guys that I can lean on, and they've been super supportive and great to me.
You mentioned pro day. San Diego State pro day is March 17th, I believe. You talked about some of the drills you've been working on. What is there anything else you've focused on as you're preparing for that, just to make sure you make it, the best possible pro day you can?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of just try and keep it simple and just get faster and get stronger. I think that covers up a lot of the areas in football and in those drills, and just working on my routes. I know I run a lot of routes at pro day, so making sure those are crisp and working with the position coach they have here. On those finite details. So just working on those things. I really like the training regimen they have here and the schedule they put us on. I feel like I've been, progressing each week. So that's exciting to see. And then I'm excited for March 17th to come so I could just display and kind of be done with all this stuff and then just focus on playing real football.
Well, you still got to wait for the draft and all that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Jesse, it's been unbelievable, man. Before we let you go, got some non-football rapid-fire questions for you. You ready for some of those?
All right, let's hear it.
All right, man. What is your favorite food?
Some barbecue, like some southern hospitality or southern, yeah, like southern food, like barbecue ribs, things of that nature.
Where is that home cooked or do you got a spot?
I have a spot in San Diego that it's my first meal when I get back after my pro day.
All right.
I've been eating pretty strict here, so that's my first thing I'm going to do after my pro day. I'm going to go to it's called Bow-Legged Barbecue. It's kind of by Lincoln High School. I forget the freeway it's off of. I'm kind of rusty on my San Diego knowledge, but I think it's maybe
we can Google it. People can
Bow-Legged Barbecue. Go check them out. You're gonna love it. I get the ribs. I get their baked beans or mac and cheese. Sometimes I get their candied yams. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Oh man, that's really exciting. That's exciting because I'll be honest, man. I like barbecue, but I like it in the South, and I haven't necessarily been able to. Right, and so okay, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, go check it out.
Come to a date night near us real soon. That's great. How about your favorite movie or TV show?
Favorite movie would probably be I really like Shawshank Redemption.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's a pretty intense movie.
I mean, honestly, man, if there was a Jesse Matthews answer, I think that might be it. That is so fitting. That's awesome. Who's your favorite musical artist, group, something that you enjoy listening to?
I like Rod Wave. He's kind of this he's a rapper, but he's more like a slower rapper. It's not like super hard, it's more like mellow, and he almost like sings in his songs, but I find that peaceful. So I don't listen to a lot of music, but I like Rod Wave and Chance the Rapper too. That was when he was making more music back then. I liked him a lot.
Right on. Who's your favorite professional athlete? Other than Dan Bellinger, of course.
Yeah.
Other than the team that you played with.
Yeah, let me see. Fernando Tatis.
Yeah.
Manny Machado. Hassan. Oh, I love Hassan Kim. Hassan Kim might be my answer.
So Andre is unfortunately a Dodger fan.
No, I
know. I mean, you have to be careful with Aztec fans because they go crazy on Dodger fans. I don't know what their issue with that is, but how cool.
They seem to go easy on me because they probably,
Yeah, you're not Rashad Penny or Donnell Pumphrey. That's the strangest thing. But dude, how great was that playoff run last year? I saw that you posted. Right field seats, man. How I mean, just in San Diego, and how cool was that?
Unreal, man. I mean, we have one professional sports team, we have two. We have the Wave, but having, we don't have football here, we don't have basketball, but we have our team, and it's the Padres, and kind of seeing the whole city kind of gather around them, and we've had a lot of bad luck throughout the years, and the Dodgers have been, big bro for a long time, and kind of getting that monkey off of our back was something really cool. And there's a lot of Dodger fans on the Aztec team, so kind of rubbing in their face. That was extra sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So I went to game 3 and 4. Obviously, I wasn't as happy as Padres fans, but I've been going to Dodgers games at Petco for 15 years, and I always felt comfortable. I felt like I was at Dodger Stadium. But those 2 games, I felt so out of place. Like I was getting booed just walking around the concourses, and there was so few Dodgers. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I think they didn't sell tickets to people in those certain counties. So
luckily, I live in San Diego, so
it
was as someone that was heartbroken and really sad about how the games went. Like it was, as a San Diegan, it was an amazing thing to witness.
Yeah. No,
don't believe Andre. He saw it coming. He knew the Dodgers were going to lose. He told me. We have it on one of these episodes. But last question, man. Favorite hobby when you're not preparing for football, playing football, man. What are some of the things you enjoy doing?
Easily golf. Golf is something that I love to do. I played I first played when I was 12 years old, and obviously I was inspired by Tiger Woods. That's how I feel like most kids get into golf, and um, I used to kind of dress up like him, when I was younger. I want all of his stuff. So
Red
getting into
polo
golf,
shirt.
yes. I go to Mission Bay golf courses right by my house, and I treat it like it was the Masters. I get all dressed up in the polo and the pants and
Uh,
all the swag, and I go out there by myself sometimes and play like it's Sunday at Augusta. So definitely on the golf courses where I feel at peace and where I kind of escape, from football and even golfing with my buddies and putting away your phone for a few hours and just being out there enjoying that time is something that I love. And I try to do as much as possible. I can't really do it during the season, but the off season I try to take advantage of it as much as possible.
Phenomenal, man. What a great interview again, man. Thank you for your time, and
Thank you,
best
guys.
of luck with everything. And we'll be rooting for you and cheering for you, and obviously all the best for you.
I think we'll both be at Pro Day, so hopefully we will, get to see you out there.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, whatever you need from me, I'll seek you guys out and we'll chop it up. So appreciate you guys. Appreciate your work, your kindness to me over the years, your kindness to my teammates and this team and all the coaches. It's been awesome. So I really appreciate your work.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you, Jesse. Have a good one. Good luck, man. Okay, Paul, that was our interview with Jesse Matthews, who is currently training in Florida for NFL draft activities, Pro Day. Obviously, he's not invited to the combine, but he'll have his opportunities to meet with and speak to a lot of teams throughout the process. But it was a good chance to get to talk to him and relive some of the San Diego State days, obviously, that just ended this past season. What were your takeaways from our interview with him?
I think my biggest takeaway is just the person and the character that he displayed in an interview. I think that's kind of hard to do, but that really jumped out to me. I mean, there's just been a lot of opportunities for him to throw shade at different times in his career. Like, he has that opportunity, and it's just like every single time he just passes it by and doesn't do it. One of my particular, values of like finding what strength looks like in people, it's people who can like absorb other people's faults. If that makes any sense. Throwing shade at somebody would not have accomplished anything for him. You know what I mean? And so he just did. And I think we found out that there was a video somewhere potentially of him getting his scholarship, and it disappeared. And instead of saying that, he just said, "Oh, I just wish it had been me." And it's just like, and he just did it. He just took all the negative that could be there and just took it as that. And so I think those opportunities that he allowed to go by and could have answered in a different way, but he continues to just be like classy. And not that we wanted him to, but obviously he has free reign to talk about whatever he wants, and he chose to like the high road and the classy road and just being, I think that part of his character came across. What about you?
What you wrote in the article that you put out on Jesse was like, if anyone had a right to kind of air a grievance, it was a star wide receiver that just wasn't getting the ball thrown his way for reasons outside of his control.
Right.
And for him not to do that, it definitely trickles down to the entire team, the rest of the receiving core who aren't on the field as much, or the running backs or the linemen or the defensive players or things like that. I do, the scholarship thing always intrigues me because I love any college program that puts out their video of having the coach bring up a walk-on and telling him he got a scholarship and everyone mobbing him. I love those. I've loved them forever, regardless of who it is or what team. I remember, before I had the privilege of going to press conferences and asking coaches questions, I would watch every press conference in football and basketball, San Diego State related. And I remember Rocky Long specifically being asked about someone getting a scholarship. I don't know if it was specifically Jesse, but it was around that time frame. But I'm not sure if it was exactly that. And I remember somebody asking Coach Long, and Long saying flat out, like, this is for us internally, it's not for the outside. And I understand, I think, why Coach Long feels that way, but I also think there's a part of that could be so good for the player, the team, the morale, for fans to see that stuff. I think that was missed for sure. And I like the fact that Coach Hoke is now allowing those to be publicized, at least from the last, year and a half. I think that's a nice change. I think it's definitely something I really appreciate about any college coach putting that out. And because walk-ons, they work hard. And Jesse's story is pretty ridiculous in the sense that like he wasn't even getting D2 or D3 offers. He said some D3 coaches talked to him, but he didn't say they made him offers. So that's just remarkable that like someone of his stature, he put up, I mean, he said, junior, he was a role player, wasn't getting a lot of targets, but senior year, his numbers were really good. Now, he went to a high school that's not a football juggernaut in San Diego. That probably had something to do with it, but still, to get to where he was 5 years ago and to be where he is now is pretty remarkable, and it shows his work ethic for sure.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. Just echoing, some of those ideas. We've had Dan Bellinger on the podcast multiple times. And as it turned out, I'm not sure that Dan Bellinger's like career arc at San Diego State could have gone any better. He was a 4th round pick, gets the most snaps as a rookie tight end. What made him so valuable with the Giants was exactly what he was able to do with the Aztecs, which was to block in a variety of ways, influence the game, and just be kind of that calming effect on everybody. Jesse Matthews doesn't have this like other part of his game that if the offense isn't clicking, that he's able to go and show for film or any of those kinds of things. I mean, players leaving in the middle of seasons and things like that happens all the time. 2021 through 5 games, I think he has 7 receptions for 40 yards. I mean, he could have gone and he could have made sure that like he could have said, look, I have 2 years left. I'm going to go and I'm going to transfer. This is what I'm going to do. I don't even know that there would have been like a big negative from the San Diego community, because at that point, I mean, I think everyone had seen what the passing game and the frustration with it and stuff like that. And so as much as like you said, he has as much to be able to complain about, the flip side of that is what would the passing game have been like without him? We've had the opportunity to talk with Jordan Brookshire multiple times, and we've asked him about that Boise State game. His momentum in that game, San Diego State's momentum in that game, starts from Jesse Matthews coming over the shoulders and taking a ball completely away from a Boise State defender. And if that was a pick, or if that hadn't been caught, the roll that San Diego State went on after that play, may not have happened. Or, you remember the other one that he caught that you just can't even believe, lays out, he's falling backwards, to be rewarded with those memories and those moments. I thought was, it just needs to be said, and it needs to be reminded of, like, in terms of opportunity, in terms of, how many passing attempts, etc. I mean, his place in the record book at San Diego State, it should have its own little asterisk of like explanation, because it was just a different era. And yet through that, in many ways, I mean, he carried the passing offense at San Diego State through a bunch of different quarterbacks. I definitely hope that the scouts who are saying, you got that feel of somebody who's just going to stick around the roster, proves to be true, because I think that guys in the NFL who can run good routes, who can read defenses, who know where they're supposed to be, who can just come up with first downs, big plays, and just keep the chains moving, and you could definitely see Jesse Matthews in that role.
Like, if you take the first half of 2021 and the first half of 2022, and you just give Jesse average wide receiver statistics, like for a starting, wide receiver, just average numbers, like he would be so much higher on the all-time Aztec receiving record book.
Yeah.
With just average numbers in those, 5 or 6 games in the season. That kind of goes back to the whole, mantra about him, sticking with it. And there were so many chances for him to be so much higher up on the record books. And I don't think he looks back on that strictly for record book purposes. We know that.
No.
I think it would, his career looking 10, 15, 20 years from now, when people didn't live through this period and are looking at statistics, he's not going to jump out to a lot of people because of that, unless they dig deeper and they read your article. They look at the statistics in the bowl games and the big games at the end of the seasons and things like that. I also love the Ryan Agnew shout out.
Mm-hmm.
I think, now that we're 4 years removed from Ryan, I think people forget, he was a decent quarterback. He put up numbers, for Jesse to say he was the first name that came to mind when we asked him who was the quarterback he had the biggest connection to. He's also, the farthest removed quarterback that he played with. So it was a nice Ryan Agnew shout out for sure.
I think, just looking at his whole body of work, but then you add to it the context in which he did it. Like we talked with Michael Shawcroft, he's a San Diegan who got to play in Jack Murphy Stadium. And that's huge. And then he closes out that stadium, and then he gets to open up Snapdragon and just everything that had to happen in between. I mean, nobody could have guessed when they were closing down Qualcomm that in a couple of years, USC and UCLA were going to bolt for the Big Ten, and there was going to be this gaping hole in Southern California. But what if, when they were making these transitions, switching coaches, switching offensive focuses, you didn't have somebody who could just go and get the ball, even when the pass wasn't perfect, and all the things that he brought to it? I am convinced that if there was anyone who was allowed to gripe about the passing game, again, it was him. And the fact that he didn't took that opportunity away from everybody else. If Jesse Matthews the guy who could benefit the most from having a consistent, legit quarterback, if he is not, no one else gets to. And I think it allowed them to win 12 games, really cement maybe the cement is still wet, but cementing the wet cement of a Pac-12 invite. I don't think it should be underestimated the success that he meant, because their offense for all of those years just needed to have enough to be good, just needed to have enough to win. And in a lot of those cases, was what Jesse Matthews provided, that he got to do it for his hometown school. The San Diego flavor of all of the things that he named, from his favorite food to his favorite. I mean, Hassan Kim, really, that's a great answer, and it just, you can see how the fabric of America's finest city, through and through, just what he is and what he's about.
From the time we recorded the interview with Jesse to now, I went and tried bow-legged barbecue.
Oh, okay.
And it was fantastic.
Oh, okay. I got to do it.
Really good. I got I got a sampler plate. I know he said he got the ribs, so I got a sampler plate with the brisket, the ribs, the chicken, with baked beans, grape and candied yams, sweet potatoes.
Oh, man.
I also got a separate order of rib tips, so I split it with somebody else. It was really good. I kind of can't wait to go back.
Wait, the SDSU football podcast brought to you by
Bow-legged
bars. Yeah, come on. Wow. I'm so excited. I'm really excited.
I meant to tweet it when we posted the interview. I was going to tweet that, but since we're recording this segment after I've eaten it, I was like, yeah, it was really good. We knew asking him about Coach Cooper was going to elicit a nice response, because he's been very vocal about Coop, everything he's done.
Right.
I think he took it even a step further with the words he spoke. Definitely, Coach Coop has made a mark on a lot of people, and Jesse's at the top of the list there. So it was really nice to hear him give such a shout out to Coach Cooper. I think because he's missed. The team has to move on. They've got a new wide receiver coach. The wide receivers are learning under a new coach, and the team's moved on. But I think Coach Cooper's legacy, his 8 years at State's, always going to be remembered for the things he did and the lives that he changed. And Jesse, I think, is this big spokesman for that impact on not just himself but the program.
It's another opportunity to make something negative. And I was glad that he ran with the question in the direction that was intended was, it's just, you can't talk about any of these wide receivers and their story without talking about Coach Cooper. And, I think you can be just open about the fact that, like, okay, they went in a different direction. That doesn't mean that you can't still, like, appreciate, what was there and the bond that was there. And I think the two times where he got the most emotional was when retelling the story about all of his teammates coming and jumping on him and throwing water and getting the scholarship, and then talking about Coach Cooper. And, that's been one of the constants, that we've heard is what he has meant to so many of these players. You were also going to add about his NFL prospects.
It's interesting that he said that, teams are saying that he's a guy who's going to make a team and stick, which tells me that an undrafted free agent, practice squad, and then earning a roster spot. And I think that all that makes sense. But I think he's a guy that a lot of teams would love to put in the slot and have him run routes and get open in the middle of the field. Yeah, but is he going to get his name called at the draft? I don't know. Once you get to like the 6th or 7th round, as much as a player wants to hear his name called at the draft by the commissioner and have that moment, sometimes if you're in the 6th, 7th and you haven't been drafted, you almost would rather not get drafted, because then you get to pick who you sign with as an undrafted free agent. And you can find the right fit coach-wise, scheme-wise, personnel-wise, that will give you the best shot at making a team out of training camp. I'm curious to see if a team does draft him in the later rounds, but I don't think necessarily whether he gets drafted in the 6th or 7th round or goes undrafted, it's going to change the mindset he's going to have and what teams think of him when he goes to training camp as part of a 90-man roster and he's looking to make that 53-man roster at the end of training camp. So I wouldn't panic too much if you don't hear his name called, because I don't think it's necessarily going to change the outlook that teams may have on him. But yeah, we'll see. We'll find out. Pro Day is going to be pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
As much as it's what you do on the field and the tape doesn't lie, a lot of teams believe in what your 40 time is and what cone shuttle time you run and how many, for a wide receiver, maybe it's not as important, but how many bench reps you do or things like that. So I think that stuff is important, and you can move up on the board just as much as you can move down based on how poorly or well you do those things. So we'll see. What do you think?
I think, how his 40 time, how his those shuttle times, I think those things are going to be really, really important, because obviously he's not going to have, multiple opportunities to do that. If he can beat some of those projections, I think that can go a long way towards, getting called there at the end of the draft. And I think that's the flip side of it is, if he can show well enough at his pro day, especially given how successful a lot of these Aztecs have been in a similar place in the draft. And it's not, I don't think it's for, I don't think it's that is an accident that these guys are catching on and they're on the practice squad. They're earning their way to playing some time. And I don't think that fact is lost on NFL personnel people, that at San Diego State, they know how to work. At San Diego State, they're going to be able to be professional. At San Diego State, they're going to be able to be consistent because of all the training that they go through. And so I think that bodes well. And there may be a team that just says, look, I don't want to risk it, because I do think that he is a guy who can make a team better, whether that's replicating somebody who can, like, really catch the ball in practice, early in his career, to working his butt off to be able to be better than the expectations, because that's what he's done all the time. And I think that, one of the takeaways from the conversation for me was just listening to him talk like he didn't succeed so much. Like, oh, well, I I was just showing my tape. I didn't know if I had a D1 level. And it was like, so you go from that to 68 catches in 18 months. like that's crazy. And so I think that same kind of like surprise you trajectory could show up for his NFL career. And one thing is for sure, they're going to have a difficult time getting somebody who's going to be better in the locker room than him, and just do the right things and show up every day and compete and work hard and be grateful and understand what's going on and what's around him and the opportunity that's in front of him. And sometimes, man, that can mean a lot. And so, obviously was really happy that we got to talk Jesse Matthews, just be able to kind of catch up and see where he's at.
Absolutely. San Diego State is currently going through spring camp or practice one. Both you and I were there. We put out an article about our observations, what we saw. So if you have anybody who's listening hasn't checked that out, go and read on eastvillagetimes.com, or you can find it on either of our Twitter accounts. Paul and I both were at practice today, which is practice 5 of 15 days of practice during spring camp. We'll put out an article on that and hopefully in a day or two. And I don't want to go spend too much time going into it, because we'll put out the article and we'll have plenty of time to talk about it. But there's, one takeaway you had from today's practice, or what you saw last week that you saw again today, what would that be?
The one, are you only gonna leave me with one? Oh my goodness.
You can have 2 if you need to.
Okay. I know I gotta follow the rules. I think the thing that jumped out to me the most was that San Diego State brought in transfers. Obviously, wide receiver Williams, came from a smaller school, but has had a ton of success. JD Coffee comes in from Texas, has a lot of success, or has as a prep anyway. And those guys come in and they're not starting.
Cody Moon too.
There's another one. We'll see if that changes between now and whatever. They were running with the 2s, right? All of them running with the 2s. All of them look like they can play. All of them made plays that we saw them play. We saw them make plays in the team drills. But I just think that there's some good football players that are still left on this team. The fact that those guys couldn't just come in and just automatically, be the people who are going to be starting and be the people who are going to be playing, I think that was pretty significant. Look, we asked Coach Hope about depth chart and who's starting and who's playing, and he said, I would not put any weight in it.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to listen. How could I not stand out that you have 2 different tackles? I mean, Brandon Crenshaw Dixon is a 2-year starter. He started 1 year at right tackle, 1 year at left tackle, and he has been with the 2s both times that we've watched practice. And so it's just interesting. Now, it may not stay that way, right? They may want to, they are wanting to do something else. I don't know. If San Diego State goes into next season and, you have 2 starters on the outside plus a starting center who have hardly played anything at all, again, something that was supposed to be a little bit more solidified because of Josh Simmons' exit, and then also BCD's demotion, it's pretty significant. And as we, Kyle Steinbach, the junior college, he's still waiting to get junior college transfer, still waiting to get medical clearance to play. Been at practice both times in street clothes that we've been there. That tackle position just becomes a question. And I thought that, those were definitely the 2, since I had to beg for a second one. I'm not going to mention a third. So what about you, man? What were the things that jumped out to you? You can have as many as you want, because I'm a nice co-host.
I'm going to try to keep it at 1. I think my favorite part of practice is always those one-on-one offensive line versus defensive line drills.
Okay.
Because there's no ball involved, right?
Yeah.
You're just seeing 2 guys And typically this is what happens in games when it's one-on-one matchups on the outside, either the left tackle versus the edge or inside. Sometimes, not always one-to-one, but it does isolate that way. And just seeing those battles, and Coach Hoke is there right in the middle of it because he's a D-line guy. Coach Goff is there yelling at the offensive lineman. It's loud, it's boisterous. Everyone is hooting and hollering. I just loved that. And I think coming into spring camp, if you ask Aztec fans, what are the two position groups you're most worried about? It would be offensive line and the defensive line. And so seeing those guys, it's a joy to watch it, and, some guys stand out more than others. Cade Bennett is very hardly does a defensive lineman get to where he wants to go when Cade's blocking him. And then, on the defensive side, Tupu Alualu, he's everywhere. He's really good. I'm impressed with him. We wrote in our day one article about, how he kind of reminds of Jonah Tavai with his stature and his kind of playing with his hair on fire. But Darian Dalton has stood out too, and he's not a new guy. He's a new guy maybe that's going to be on the field, but he's not a new guy on the team.
And both of those cats are running with the starters. We can't make too much of it, but
even on those one-on-one drills, he's doing good things, and you can hear Coach Hoke compliment him. Those are guys that have stood out, and I think, as you said, it's only a week and a half of practices, and it's the spring, and there's 6 months left before the first game. As a coaching staff, you have to feel better about your defensive line than you did 2 weeks ago, based on how some of those guys are doing. It's early.
It's early.
I've seen more than I thought I would see from not just the new incoming transfers, but the players that have been kind of on the bottom of the depth chart the last 2 years.
Yeah, I can see that. It's really challenging to always know what you're going to see with the way that Coach Hoke talks about players. And so the greatest sign that Darian Dalton is ready to potentially step up and be a player is that he's never mentioned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had to ask specifically about him to get Coach to talk about him. And that's usually a pretty good sign that you have the potential to be a player. And obviously, I mean, he's starting, he's playing along, with the starters. And so, I again, it's very difficult to know. I still think all of the questions that are there. Jalen Maiden was in class. He didn't practice. And so there was wide open guys that the quarterbacks couldn't make that you would assume Maiden would have hit, and some other things that kind of made it look a little bit less crisp. But all in all, I think the team is playing hard. They are competing, and if you enjoy physical football, I think that this season is going to be one that you enjoy. And I don't know exactly how good they'll be. I don't know that anybody knows how good they're going to be yet because of these questions. But, they were in pads today. They were tackling today. And the physicality was there. I remember years and years and years ago sitting at a San Diego State UNLV game, and a recruit came off the field and sat right in front of us. And he's talking to his friend, and they were asking him about, oh, hey, what about this, over this? And the guy said, this high schooler said about the teams in that time, he said, well, they're not any bigger than us. Let's watch the game and see if they're faster. And I went, oh, that's not good. And sure enough, they lost by a lot of points, and you can't say that about this team. The transformation, that we've seen over the last couple of years with someone like New Zealand Williams, who looks every bit of a linebacker now. I think that you saw that physicality. The guys were ready to hit. If that's what you enjoy about Aztec football, that's not going to be missing from this year's team.
Yep. The spring game, as everyone probably knows, is on Thursday, March 23rd, 6 p.m. at Snapdragon. We did hear today that it's going to be a free event, but details, they haven't ironed out how the ticketing and how that's going to work. So we don't have any details really to share on that, but San Diego State will put out our official release, I'm sure, within the next week about it. So stay tuned for that. But it'll be a fun opportunity for Aztec Nation to see these guys out there, see the guys who we've seen a couple times in practice, kind of show out in a fun environment. No pressure about losing a game and falling behind in the standings. So I think it'll be a fun time to.
Steak and hot dogs, is that this one?
They didn't do it last year.
Okay.
Steak and hot dogs.
Okay.
Last year, I don't think they mentioned it. I think Coach Hook might have even been asked about it. I take that back. They might have done it 2 years in a row.
Okay, I was going to say, I can imagine these kids eating. I can imagine that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Maybe Bow-Legged Barbecue can sponsor.
Bro, I'm telling you, man, this is if Bow-Legged Barbecue, man. Sponsor us. I will work. I will podcast for food, man. Let's do it.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for us. Hopefully you enjoyed the interview with Jesse Matthews. Make sure to like, subscribe, share, comment on all your favorite platforms. We'll be back hopefully soon with some interviews with some of the members of the coaching staff. So stay tuned for that, and we'll talk to you guys next time. You are listening to the SDSU Football Podcast, presented by the East Village Times, with your hosts Andre Hagverdian and Paul Garrison.